Horror on Trial. I'm Rebecca Lieb.
I'm Jason Horton.
And this is Ghost Town.
The law of the jungle. Eat or be eaten. These film cans tell what happened to the Americans who journeyed into the Amazon to shoot a documentary. New York City is only a day away from the green inferno of the Amazon jungle. 4 Americans plunge into the savagery of the Amazon jungle to film a documentary. They never come back. Are they still alive? If so, where are they? Cruel. Brutal. Savage. Shocking. Authentic. Actually filmed in the Amazon jungle.
No! You gotta get the film back home now! Think of the film!
In 1980, one of the most controversial films of all time finds its way into the courtroom. We're talking about the 1980 film Cannibal, Holocaust. Have you seen it?
I have, but it's been a very, very long time. I saw it in college, back when I was really consuming a lot of horror. And yeah, I remember it being kind of hard to follow, over the top. It sticks out more in my memory in terms of its aesthetics and tone than like the plot line, if I'm being honest.
I always categorized it with movies like Faces of Death, I Spit on Your Grave,
Yeah.
which I haven't seen, Faces of Death, which I haven't seen, Cannibal Holocaust, which I haven't seen. I can't do it.
You
I just can't.
You can't
no.
go there.
I didn't go away to college anyway, so.
Well, I was doing many drugs in college, so again, my recollection is quite hazy.
Well, Cannibal Holocaust has a reputation of being a very controversial and polarizing film, and it was so controversial that it found its way into the courtroom as the director was accused of murder.
Damn. We've done a couple profiles of things where like directors get in trouble and things. I don't think we've had a murder yet, though, until tonight.
Ruggero Deodato was born on May 7th, 1939, in Potenza, Italy, a province just outside of Rome. From an early age, Deodato showed an avid interest in films and movie making, which only grew when one of his friends, Renzo Rossellini, convinced him to take a job as a second-unit director on his father's film set. The director Deodato went on to work for was famed Italian director Roberto Rossellini, and from there, Deodato continued to grow his portfolio. He worked as a second-unit director on films of all kinds of genres, from spaghetti westerns with the 1966 film Django to an action fantasy with Hercules, Prisoner of Evil. But his career really took off when he began directing his own series of movies based on comic book characters. Deodato then moved on to TV, where he did several advertisements and started directing a series called Al Ultimo Minuto. From there, Deodato moved to America, where he worked on many big names like Wes Craven's The Last House on the Left, and his own House on the Edge of the Park, but became most famous, or rather notorious, with the 1980 film Cannibal Holocaust. In Cannibal Holocaust, a film crew goes into the Amazon to shoot a documentary on the cannibal tribe still living in the forest. But the story takes a turn when the members of the film crew go missing. A team of guides goes searching for the missing film crew, only to discover their skulls on an altar and a stash of films that raise more questions than answers. We're relatively early on in the found footage genre. The dark storyline was enough to grab the attention on its own, but where the film really attracted headlines is when it switched to found footage. Found footage had been used in a couple of films before this, but Cannibal Holocaust would solidify this type of storytelling and mark it out as a distinct genre of horror movies. The film shows several of the cast members being murdered, and the coupling of realistic effects and found footage filming led to some unforeseen repercussions for director Ruggero Deodato. With media coverage came speculation, and with the cast missing from the public eye, speculations only continued to grow when 10 days after the film's release, Ruggero Deodato was arrested and charged with murder.
Damn, I don't think I do remember this movie. I don't know if I do.
We'll find out if any of this jogs your memory after this break. He was only able to clear his name of suspicions in court when he explained the special effects used to create the death scenes, but more importantly, produced the cast themselves. Deodato had chosen unknown actors and actresses to play the parts, which is quite unusual on its own, but Deodato also had them sign a stipulation in their contracts that stated they would avoid the media for a year after shooting the film to add to the realism of the movie. So they're unknown actors.
You don't get to work. You don't get to...
Don't be public, because when people see this movie, it's like, I saw this person yesterday, but they're like, where are these people?
Yeah.
Why are they not part of this initial media blitz or whatever it is they do? Now we can look at things like found footage, and we have under the lens of many years.
Totally. We're so jaded.
So jaded. Even when Blair Witch was out, it was almost 20 years after that.
Yeah. And that's what I was thinking about when you were talking about the movie. This feels like very progressive in terms of storytelling and kind of more like immersive, like an immersive art piece that is rooted in horror movie genre. But also, like, I can't believe it went all the way to court. That even in the court, they were like, okay, we're going to prove this isn't true. Just bring out the people who've died. People use their resources to take it all the way to this level.
This is in Italy.
Yeah,
so
but
I don't
still,
know what
like, there wasn't some like proving. I mean, I'm sure there was paperwork around it, and it's already like the filmmaking industry. Even at that point, you still had to like go through certain kind of legal red tape and motions, but then it got to like this point where they're like, bring out the dead people. They're alive. They were just in hiding. It's part of their clause.
But that's probably how realistic seeming, because it is pretty rough, and watch some of it, just to get familiar. And it's pretty gruesome. And I think there's had issues also with animals, dead animals and such. Something people aren't used to watching. And he succeeded in what he wanted. I want you to think this is real, not you're watching a movie.
Yeah.
That you're watching some tapes we found and just digitized and edited.
Totally. It's like Slender Man, honestly. It feels very forward thinking in terms of how people experience horror, which I really appreciate and enjoy. And I mean, really, we're talking about it not because it's a horror movie that was successful. We're talking about it because of this extra external part, the case and the film.
It's a very shocking title. Is very shocking. It's just one of those movies when you talk about Faces of Death or I Spit on Your Grave. Cannibal Holocaust is part of that. The charges against him were dropped, but the suspicions of murder remained, with many in the public and the media claiming he must have killed the actors for the sake of his movie and then solidified his name in the industry. From then on, Deodato became synonymous with horror and found footage films, and now, over 40 years later, there are rumors he's making a sequel to the movie that started it all. There's also, I don't know if it's a remake, I believe it's similar or a remake. It's Eli Roth's Green Inferno, which I believe is a similar movie. Journalist in a cannibalistic society, or that's what they find themselves.
Yeah, and it's hard because, like, I think the, white explorers immersing themselves in a culture that is unlike their own. It doesn't really hold up in any way, but it's certainly, of a specific time and place where, the fetishization of culture and like the mysteriousness and kind of exoticism of people and otherness and horror is really like a couple steps away from that. Makes sense. But again, it's must be challenging to make a sequel or to make a remake of that concept now.
Like you said, so much has happened since then. Everyone understands pretty much every trope, every nuanced way of filming something to make it real or interesting. And that's why documentaries are so compelling, and sometimes how real are they, or how real.
No, exactly. I think we've had to do that because we don't believe anything these days. We don't believe like anything that's shot and filmed. So like moving into a different like docuseries genre, and even that, as I know and is kind of bullshitty too, and can be bullshitty. It's a slippery slope. It's hard.
I believe we talked about John Chow, was the missionary who went to be a missionary to convert a closed off group of people that purposefully left alone.
Yeah.
Just doing their thing. And he went there, I think it was like 2019. And yeah, he went there and he did not leave the island.
Yeah.
It's like an interesting thing that a movie years later that it wasn't based on, some things are based on like, oh, this doesn't happen or this would never happen. And it's something that does happen. And I guess, is it a cautionary tale? I don't know. I haven't watched the movie, so I don't know how many other people did, but it was kind of a cautionary tale.
Yeah, like we haven't learned our lesson at all. And don't fuck with other cultures. And I guess we should watch this movie?
No.